Hello everyone and welcome once again to The View from the Midwest, and I welcome you back for another edition of this Bleedin' Blue look at the Central Division. It's great to be back for another season. Hopefully you're enjoying the first week of NHL hockey, and an entire season in front of us is going to bring a lot, and there should be a lot of good things in store for most of the Central Division teams. So let's get right into it. Obviously everybody knows, based on reading the article. If you haven't, go to bleedinblue.com. The weekly article is there. You can see how the St. Louis Blues are doing. They have started off the year pretty well, and as a fan, I am pretty happy about that. But let's get into some of the other teams, shall we? The Chicago Blackhawks start off 1-2, surprisingly, or perhaps not, given the amount of turnover that they had during the offseason. The Blackhawks gave up the most goals of any division team in the first week of play. They scored 9 but allowed 11, and that isn't going to get you a very good record as they finished the week with a record of 1-2. Coach Q has his work cut out for him to get things turned around, but as we know, they are the Chicago Blackhawks, and they are probably going to find a way to do that. As I mentioned, Chicago opened up the season rather poorly following their 5-2 loss to St. Louis. They fell 3-2 to Nashville in the Music City before coming home to Chicago and defeating the Predators 5-3 in a rematch. Richard Panik had a hat trick on that night, and he ended up with 4 goals on the week. Ryan Hartman scored his first NHL goal. Nicholas Hjalmarsson, Brent Seabrook, and Marcus Kruger also scored during the week. And Nick Schmaltz also got his first NHL goal as well. Chicago is going to face the Flyers and the Maple Leafs at home this week, and then sandwiched in between that is going to be a game against Columbus on the road. Moving down south, the Nashville Predators opened up the week 1-1. As mentioned, the Preds had a mixed bag to start. They split their openers against Chicago, as I mentioned, winning at home and then falling on the road. Nashville got goals from Mike Fisher, Roman Josi, PK Subban, Victor Arvidsson, Craig Smith, and Colin Wilson. They're at home to the Stars, on the road against Detroit, and then back in the Music City against the Penguins coming up this week. Staying down south, the Dallas Stars also opened up the season 1-1. Dallas opened up with a mixed results. They opened up with a solid 4-2 win over Anaheim before losing to Colorado in Denver by the score of 6-5 over the weekend. The Stars had goals from Jamie Benn, Devon Shore, Adam Cracknell of all people, if you can believe it, Blues fans, Brett Ritchie, Antoine Roussel, Stephen Johns, Laurie Korpikoski, and 2 from Tyler Seguin to open up the year. The Stars open up the week on the road in Nashville before having 2 home games against Los Angeles and Columbus. Going up north, the Minnesota Wild also opened up the season 1-1, continuing our themes of teams that split their opening week. The Wild lost to St. Louis, as we mentioned, 3-2, and then won at home over the Jets by the score of 4-3. They got goals from Charlie Coyle, Chris Stewart, as we continue to mention a few St. Louis ex-St. Louis Blues in this, Ryan Suter, Jonas Brodin, Matt Dumba, and Eric Stahl. Minnesota has to play the Kings to begin the week, and then they see Austin Matthews and the Toronto Maple Leafs come to town. They end the week on the coast as they play a couple games against New Jersey and the New York Islanders to end their week. Only one game on the docket last week for the Colorado Avalanche, and as I mentioned, the Avalanche took down the Stars in a wild game with the final score 6-5. It was quite the exciting night for Jared Bednar, as he is the new coach over there in Denver, and he got things off to a really good start for his team as he saw his squad match up with one of the top offensive teams in the league and keep pace. The Avalanche got goals from Tyson Barrie, Nate McKinnon, Carl Soderberg, and 2 from newcomer Joel Colburn. And they also make up for only having 1 game last week and this week, as they're going to have 4. It's all on the road as well, so it's going to be a little bit difficult for the Avalanche to keep pace. They're going to see Pittsburgh, Washington, Tampa Bay, and Florida, so an East Coast trip is not going to be kind to the Avalanche. Rounding things out with the Winnipeg Jets, they started their year 1-1, and for the first time in what feels like forever, they didn't finish the first week in the cellar of the NHL Central. That's thanks in large part to a furious comeback against Carolina. The Jets won 5-4 in overtime, and that included 3 goals in the third period just to get that one into the extra frame. As I mentioned, they won 5-4. They turned around and lost to Minnesota in the state of hockey by the score of 4-3 to cap off their week. The Jets got goals from Sean Matthias, Nikolai Ehlers, Matthew Perreault, Patrick Laney got his first NHL goal, and then 2 goals each for Mark Scheifele and Blake Wheeler. The Jets are going to get Boston, Toronto, and Edmonton all at home this week. So hopefully you enjoyed this week's wrap-up of the NHL Central Division. Join us again next week, and join us as we do every week with this look at the division and see where the St. Louis Blues and their opponents are faring in terms of the standings. Right now, everything's just kind of mixed up. St. Louis on top of everything as they are 3-0, and everything kind of tiered down from there. But there's going to be a lot of jockeying back and forth, as this is still going to be one of the most difficult divisions. There are a couple other divisions that are going to make themselves known and try to vie for that title, but right now it still looks like the NHL Central has the teams to beat. So that'll wrap it up for the View from the Midwest. Join us again next time, but until that next time, I will see you then.